What's up YouTube? This is the Upstart Goblin here, and today I got a video for you guys on the economics of Yu-Gi-Oh! And how to make the most of your card money. Now notice I didn't title the video how to make a ton of money in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because unless you're a vendor, or you have a card shop, or you have a very good eBay store that you have basically unlimited time and resources to be able to upload that stuff, you're not going to be making enough money in this game to be able to call it a lifestyle or a way of living. But what this video can teach you how to do is how to make sure that the money you are throwing into this game is not going down the toilet. There's a lot of people that say this game is a money drain, and really it doesn't have to be. If you pick up the right cards at the right time, you don't have to spend a ton of money at all. Myself, I haven't put any extra money into this game in a couple years probably. I just look ahead and see what cards to pick up and what will be good, and I'm going to show you guys in this video how I've done that. And I'm not saying it's the only way to do things, but if you're having trouble with this, then maybe it'll help you out a little bit. So the first thing I want to talk about is static and dynamic cards. I tend to group cards into two categories as far as their price and potential to rise goes. So the static cards are usually cards with multiple prints. Cards that have been reprinted in structure decks, reprinted in Gold Series, reprinted as commons, reprinted in ways that makes them readily available to the public. Picking up these cards, such as staples, are generally low risk, so you will be able to get the money back that you paid for them or traded for them. However, you're not really going to be making a ton of money off of them when you get rid of them again. The safest investments you want to pick are the cards that are in the highest rarity. So for example, most cards that are from Turbo Packs, Astro Packs, Champion Packs, or Tournament Packs are going to be the cards that you want to pick up when you're trying to get static cards. You don't want to be picking up cards that are super expensive though, because they'll be really hard to trade if you have $100 cards such as Champion Pack Book of Moon or Champion Pack Bottomless, but it all depends on your market, and we'll get to that later. But the ideal price range I like to work between is cards that are going to be a consistent $10 to $30 no matter what, basically, is what I like to do. So what you want to do when you do this is you take your dynamic cards, which I'll talk about now, and you want to trade them off at the right point to get static cards or dollars. Dollars are always good. So dynamic cards are usually cards with only one print. So they usually have their main cent printing, or they're a promo that hasn't gotten a reprint. So I'm going to call these cards dynamic cards because they have high risk, high reward, or in some situations you have low risk dynamic cards that can net you some pretty high rewards. So the problem with dynamic cards is that they're very, very, very vulnerable to price spikes and price drops that are going to be sudden and drastic. This PowerPoint's a week or so old, so I haven't been able to show it to you guys quite yet. And I'm sorry, it's a PowerPoint. My camera is still not working, so I will get you live videos as soon as I can, but I think PowerPoint would probably be better for this video anyway. Oh yeah, okay. So I don't know if you guys saw, Laval Chain last night went from $40 to $100 quite literally overnight. So if you look at that, that will fall under a lot of the things with dynamic cards. Usually cards with only one print, yes it is. And it was kind of static for a while. It was between 30 and 50 for a couple years since it came out pretty much. And usually, but not always, dynamic cards are either very old or very new. I will talk about that when we get into it, but in general, dynamic cards are easier to trade or sell than static cards, because it's a lot easier to find someone who wants to play Burning Abyss and needs Dante's than someone who might not have an MST or Ultimate Rare Duality. Like, they're going to be wanting to pick up the deck itself before they start picking up the holos, either the holo staples, that is, either that or they already have them. So in general, dynamic cards are the ones that are easier to trade or sell. So here's an example of a static card, an Ultimate Monster Reincarnation from Rise of Destiny. So I set up on this graph, I was using Yu-Gi-Oh card prices. I have the graph running from October 10th, 2014 to January 22nd, 2015. Now it looks like there's a wide range here, but if you look, the maximum spread of what the card ran, this is, I think it's taken from like lowest eBay prices and Troll and Toad. If you check out the website, there's a whole bunch of factors that go into deciding these prices. But I'm comparing the average price of Monster Reincarnation, the Ultimate Rare, and in a 3-month span, it went from $9.50 to $11.50, and for the most part was in the middle. So this card, it's a pretty safe pickup because it'll always be around $10. We can pretty safely say that looking at that chart. The thing about it though is that there's not many people trying to pick up monster reincarnations, which is why this is sometimes hard to get rid of. So moving on to dynamic cards, here's an example of I'm going to call it a type 1 dynamic card, low risk, high reward. If anyone had any idea Snatch Steal was coming back, they would have been a genius, because this card was maybe $2 for the ultra rare for Magic Ruler until the card got announced that it was coming back. And the second it came back, it shot up $20 overnight. And that was such a crazy profit for the people that had a ton of them. This is part of the reason I like keeping a banned collection. But it was very low risk because before it was on the ban list, or off the ban list I suppose, you could pretty much safely assume that you would be able to find someone that would be able to take the Snatch Steal for $2. The difference is that as soon as it hit the ban list, it became a higher price card and became a $20 card. So at that point, you're getting the high reward. Now, the one thing about this, it seems that low risk, high reward is exactly what you want to do. And in general, yes, that's correct. But the problem with cards that are banned is that unless they don't come off the ban list, you're never going to make any money on them. So it's not necessarily beneficial to go out and buy, so what's the card? Yata-Garasu. Yata-Garasu is pretty safe to say that it's not coming back. It's also pretty safe to say that if for some reason it did come back, the original secret rare print would be pretty expensive. However, this doesn't mean you're going to go out and buy 20 copies of the secret rare Yata-Garasu, because if it doesn't come back, you're stuck with those cards still, and they're going to be $2, $3 for the entire time you have them. And every ban list that comes around that Yata-Garasu is not on it, that's $2 per copy of it that you have that you're not being able to move for other cards in the game. I'm going to assume it's going to be pretty hard to move 20 copies of secret rare Yata-Garasu if it's still banned and no one sees it coming back. And yeah, I know the erratas and the OCG, I know it's stupid, but I don't know. I just don't think that's a very good idea, and the numbers kind of back me up on that one. So the other type of dynamic card, and as you can see the charts from a couple weeks ago, it's the high risk, high reward. Picking up Dante Travel the Burning Abyss when it was very expensive at $75 or even $55 at its low point, and this is running between November 2nd, 2014 and January 22nd, 2015. So it's about a 2.5 month span. Is that right? Yeah, 2.5 months. So the people who picked it up in the ban list craze when everyone thought Dante was going to get hit at $55, they were making a pretty big investment there. If Dante had gone to 1, the card might have dropped to $30 and you're losing $15, $25 a copy. Awesome math. Good job. But what actually happened, it didn't get hit. The card goes back up to $75, $70, and everyone who picked them up for $55 is making a pretty penny off of that. Although that was a very risky thing to do, and especially for a card that's so high priced that, I don't know, for me at least, the reward is not worth the risk, because I don't have a ton of money to throw around at cards. But if I were trying to be doing a dynamic card and picking up the highest reward possible, if I had a couple $100s to throw around that I didn't need, then yes, this would be a worthwhile investment because of the money you would get back for it. So if you went and got 10 copies of Dante, throw $550 at it, you're making a $200 profit in a very short amount of time. And it was not really realistic that it was going to get hit, even though everyone was kind of freaking out. But whoever picked these up made a very good choice. So the thing you have to do when you're trying to decide what type of card to pick up is to identify your personal market, and it's different for every person. So I came up with a couple guidelines to try and decide this. So first off, you need to decide how competitive is your locals. Are the people playing at your locals the ones bringing the brand new decks that are high priced and quote unquote better, or are these the people that have been playing Lightsworns for 2 years or love Blackwings and have always played Blackwings? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with playing these decks, it's just that the competitiveness of your locals is going to be determined by the decks and quality of the players that are there. If the players are very good and always topping regionals and topping YCSs, then it's a very competitive locals, and you're better off picking up the cards that you'll be able to sell off very easily. In that case, it would be the dynamic cards. The other thing you want to look at is how much money do they invest in the game, and this is not quite the same as competitiveness. Granted, they go along together a lot of the time because often the new competitive decks are the ones that are going to be expensive to play because they're brand new cards. However, in the case that there's a deck that is not very expensive, that is still tier 1 or better, then you can look at that, and it sometimes makes a difference. So I know a lot of you guys have been watching my videos on Nekroz. I don't foresee Nekroz being a terribly, terribly expensive deck, because if you do the math and figure out there's 20 secret rares in Secret Forces, there's 24 secret rares in every box of Secret Forces, your mathematics would tell you that you should be able to get 3 copies of every secret rare by getting 3 boxes of the set. That's $180 to get the set. Well, in theory, to get everything you need from the set. And then from there, you're going to be selling off the Yosenju, selling off the Ritual Beast. I can see maybe all of the Secret Forces stuff for the Nekroz being as high as $150. Now granted, there's a couple other things you have to throw into the equation. You probably need a Evolve All Chain and some basic rank 4 Exceeds, but under the assumption that most people already have those if they're planning on playing Nekroz, it's really not going to be that difficult to be able to build the deck, and it won't be that expensive to be able to build the deck. So long story of that whole little tangent there, short, is that you need to look at the price of the deck as well as the competitiveness. Because Burning Abyss, before everyone figured out how good they were, Dante's were $25. That deck was very, very good, but it wasn't that expensive yet because people hadn't really realized. Shaddoll is almost a budget choice in this format. It's maybe $150 to build the whole deck. And while it's very competitive, it's not as expensive as, say, Kleese. So you have to look at those two things. For a casual, low-budget locals that plays cheaper decks, and I'm going to say cheaper decks as well as some fan favorites. And the fan favorite decks, you know that kid at your locals that's been playing Lightsworn since he started the game, or the guy that loves Frog Monarchs and has been playing them since the womb. You know that people are going to want them. And people at your locals are going to want them if they see other people at their locals playing them. These are the people that, at least at my locals, and I'm not saying this holds true everywhere, the people that aren't going to be topping regionals exactly, but will go every time and love playing the game. And there's nothing wrong with these people. I want to stress that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being not competitive or playing just for fun. But if you're trying to make enough money and make the right choices in the cards you pick up to trade off and sell at locals, I would say that Lightsworn, Evil Swarm, Frog Monarch, Glad Beast, Battle Unboxer, and Blackwing are probably the top 6 decks or themes that you should be looking to pick up, because they're very easy to get rid of. And a lot of the cheaper budget players or the less competitive people will eat them up. If you're paying in a locals that is very competitive, that's going to have these decks the second they come out, Nekroz, Kleese, Burning Abyss, Stellar Knight, Shaddoll, I'm going to say those are the big 5 heading into the next couple weeks. That's when you're going to want to be picking up the good stuff. If someone decides they want to play Burning Abyss but they have Cliffworts, you having Dante's is very good because you can get the money for them, or even pick up other stuff like Kleese and try and profit off the trades. So finding the right cards to invest in. There are some different methods that I use beyond what I've already showed you. I like to look at decks that could be competitive given some more support, or if something that they had come off the ban list. And the first two that come to mind when I think of this is Inzektors and Windups. If Inzektor Dragonfly went to 3, you know that every person that played an Inzektor format and loved that, we picking the deck up and you could not get enough of it because they thought it was so good back then. Even if it got power creeped, everyone would still want it. It doesn't matter how good the deck is, it's how much demand there is for it. So picking up Super Inzektor Centipedes for $2 a piece or $1 a piece is always something I want to do. The second they get help, I know those cards are going for $5-6 a piece and I'm making triple the profit. It's a very low investment rate, it's very easy to pick up, and it's always nice to have another deck in your back pocket in case you ever need it. As far as ban list stuff goes, I would look at specifically cards that have the highest probability to come off the ban list and pick them up in the right print. Now I can't emphasize that enough. Having the Legend of Blue Eyes Monster Reborn in first edition even though it's also ultra rare, is way better than having the Legendary Collection Monster Reborn or the Legendary Collection Heavy Storm instead of the Metal Raiders, I think it was, first edition. You can make a ton of money just by having the first edition, the oldest version. People love that, especially collectors and people who want to be. I mean, I don't understand the whole, have the highest rarity in your deck thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think it's kind of stupid. But for the most part, people will want these. If you have the Trishulas, and I'm not saying pick these up for 10 because that's just a bad idea, but if you can pick up a Trishula for $5, you know that card's going to be $50 the second it comes back, because we've had some fake ban lists in the past where they said Trishula was coming back and the card was selling for $50 to $75 on eBay within a couple hours. I personally have a stockpile of Metal Raider Solemn Judgments because I really think this card could come off without any problem, and I'm just waiting for Konami to agree with me. It's these kind of cards that you want to pick up because they're going to be the easiest to get rid of when they come back, and they are also the most likely to come back. Again, back to Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu is very unlikely to come back. And then there's also cards that would not make an impact if they did come back. For example, Tribe Infecting Virus. And I know people are going to rage about this and say Tribe Infecting Virus would break the game if it came back or be very good. Really, I don't see it making that much of an issue. I see it, I see people playing it, but I don't really see it being dominant or anything game breaking. Kind of like when they brought Tsukiyomi and Magician of Faith back a little at a time. They really never made any difference because they're just flat out too slow. So that's the end of this video. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys learned something here. Just trying to show you guys a little bit of what I'm doing and see if I can help any of you guys, because I know that this game can sometimes be a money drain, and I don't want to see anyone quitting this game because they can't afford it or they got screwed out of too much money. So hopefully you guys learned something from this video. Be sure to like it and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.